Hello everyone, welcome back to the AZ-104 Azure Administrator Associate Complete course. In this video, we are going to start working with the Azure platform by creating and understanding the foundation components that every Azure administrator works with. Before creating virtual machines, storage accounts, networks, or databases, we need to understand three important concepts. First, the Azure free account and subscription model. Second, the Azure Portal, which is the primary management interface for Azure resources. And third, resource groups, which are used to organize and manage Azure resources. We will also perform hands-on labs where we create a resource group, apply tags, configure resource logs, and safely delete resources. Before we start working with Azure resources, let's understand what you will learn in this video. By the end of this session, you will be able to confidently perform these tasks in both real-world Azure environments and during your AZ-104 certification preparation. First, you will learn how to create an Azure free account. We will understand the Azure free tier, what services are available, how the subscription works, and how to activate your Azure environment for hands-on practice. Next, we will explore the Azure portal. You will learn how to navigate the portal interface, understand the different sections, customize your dashboard, and quickly find the Azure services you need as an administrator. After that, we will focus on creating and managing resource groups. Resource groups are one of the fundamental concepts in Azure administration. You will learn how to create a resource groups, organize Azure resources, apply tags, and understand how resource groups support governance, management, and lifecycle operations. Then we will learn about resource locks. In real world production environments, accidental deletion of critical resources can cause major issues. Resource locks helps administrators protect important resources from accidental deletion or unwanted modifications. Finally, we will cover resource cleanup. You will learn how to safely delete resource groups, remove unnecessary resources, and avoid unexpected Azure charges. By the end of this session, you will have the foundational knowledge required to start building and managing Azure environments confidently. Let's begin our Azure administration journey. Azure free account. Before we start creating Azure resources, the first thing every Azure administrator should understand is the Azure free account. Many beginners immediately click start for free without understanding what they are signing up for, what resources are available, how Azure billing works. In this section, we will cover everything you need to know before activating your Azure subscription. The Azure free account is designed to help you learn, experiment, and build applications on the Azure platform with minimal cost. It provides access to free Azure services, a limited amount of Azure credits for initial usage, and access to the complete Azure portal where you can create and manage cloud resources. For AZ-104 preparation, this free account is extremely valuable because you can practice real administrator tasks such as creating virtual machines, managing storage accounts, configuring networking, working with resource groups, applying security settings, and monitoring Azure resources. However, as an Azure administrator, you must understand one important concept. Azure is a consumption-based cloud platform. This means you pay based on the resources you use. For example, if you create a virtual machine and keep it running, it may continue consuming compute resources. If you create storage accounts and store large amounts of data, you may incur charges. So, while Azure provides free services, proper resource management is extremely important. Throughout this course, we will follow cloud administration best practices. Create resources only when needed. Use the smallest appropriate size for labs. Monitor usage and delete resources after completing hands-on exercises. The goal is not only to pass the AZ-104 exam, but also to develop the real-world skills required to manage Azure environments professionally. Now let's understand what is included in the Azure free account and how to activate it. Now let's take a closer look at the Azure free account and understand what Microsoft provides for new users. The Azure free account is one of the best ways for AZ-104 candidates to gain real hands-on cloud experience. Instead of only learning theory, you can actually create and manage Azure resources, practice administration tasks, and build your cloud skills using the same Azure platform used by organizations worldwide. The important point is you can use Azure services at no cost as long as you stay within the free usage limits. Let's look at the key benefits. First, Azure provides $200 in Azure credits for new accounts. These credits can be used during the first 30 days to explore different Azure services and test paid features. For example, you can try different virtual machine sizes, storage options, and other services while learning how Azure works. The second benefit is 55 plus free services. These includes popular services that are very useful for AZ-104 practice. So to create you need one Microsoft account to create and a valid phone number for identity verification and a credit card. Many beginners are concerned about adding a credit card. The important thing to understand is the credit card is used for identity verification. Microsoft does not automatically charge your card just because you create free account. To start paying for Azure usage beyond the free limits, you must manually upgrade your subscription to a pay-as-you-go plan. However, as an Azure administrator, you should always monitor your usage because accidentally leaving resources running can create unexpected charges. Throughout this AZ-104 course, we will follow best practices. Create resources only when needed. Use free or low cost configurations for labs. Monitor resource usage and clean up resources after completing exercises. This approach will help you gain practical Azure experience while controlling costs. So here $200 free credit for it has to be used within 30 days and 55 plus free services, and always free services like with limited resources and account requirement. You need Microsoft account, phone number and verification. Let's understand what services are included in the Azure free tier. This is an important section for AZ-104 candidates because it helps you understand which Azure services you can use for hands-on practice without immediately generating costs. The Azure free tier is divided into two categories. First, 12-month free services and second, always free services. Let's start with 12-month free services. One of the most useful services for AZ-104 practice is the Azure Virtual Machine. Microsoft provides up to 750 hours per month of a B1S Linux virtual machine. This allows you to practice tasks such as creating virtual machines, configuring networking, connecting through SSH, managing operating system settings. Microsoft also provides 750 hours per month of a B1S Windows virtual machine. This is especially useful for Azure Administrator labs, where you need a practice remote desktop connections, Windows Server administration, installing applications and managing virtual machines. For storage practice, Azure provides 5 GB of blob storage with locally redundant storage or LRS. You can use this to learn storage accounts, containers, blob uploads, access permissions. For database practice, Azure provides limited access to Azure SQL database. This allows you to understand concepts like database deployment, security settings, connectivity, and basic database management. Azure also provides limited Azure Cosmos DB storage, which is useful for learning NoSQL database concepts. Additionally, you receive 15 GB of outbound data transfer for moving data from Azure to external locations. Now let's look at the always free services. These services remain available with specific usage limits. For serverless computing, Azure Functions provides up to 1 million requests per month. This allows you to practice event-driven application concepts without managing servers. Azure Active Directory, now known as Microsoft Entra ID, provides a free trial that allows you to learn identity concepts such as users, groups, authentication, and basic access management. Azure DevOps provides free access for up to 5 users, allowing you to explore source control, CI/CD pipelines, and DevOps workflows. Azure Kubernetes Service or AKS provides free cluster management, Remember that while the Kubernetes control plane management is free, the underlying compute resources such as virtual machine may create charges. Azure Monitor provides basic monitoring capabilities, allowing administrators to view metrics and track resource performance. Azure Policy also provides governance capabilities, allowing organizations to define and enforce compliance rules. Now, an important administrator best practice: always monitor your Azure usage through cost management plus billing. The free limits are not unlimited. After the initial credits expire or after free service limits are exceeded, Azure resources may generate charges. A professional Azure administrator always monitor resource usage, cost alerts, active resources, and unnecessary deployments. Understanding the free tier helps you practice Azure confidently while avoiding unexpected expenses. Now we understand the Azure free account. Let's explore the most important tool every Azure administrator uses daily, the Azure Portal. Think of the Azure Portal as your command center for managing everything in the cloud. The Azure Portal is a web-based management interface that allows you to create, configure, monitor, secure, and manage Azure resources from a single location. Whether you are managing a single virtual machine or thousands of enterprise resources, the Azure Portal provides the tools needed to perform daily administrator tasks. To access the portal, you simply open portal.azure.com. You simply open portal.azure.com and sign in with your user ID. It will open like this. If you want to search anything, for example resource groups, you can search it like resource groups. See, here it is showing resource groups, right? Or else if you want to see virtual machines, you can search for virtual machines or virtual networks. So you can search in this search bar. And here in left side, this is the services. Like here you can see all services. This is the services bar. Here you have, if you'll click on all services, see, from here you can create services. If you click on create, you can see all the services available here. So these are the services. For example, if you want to create a resource group, you can here type resource group. Okay, you can create the resource group. Here you have to provide the subscription, and here you have to provide a resource group name, and then you have to provide the region where you want to create this resource group. You can provide that region name. And this is the Azure portal. left side you have all the services are available, and here you can see in the like here you can see Cloud Shell. It provides a browser based command line experience. See here, if you click on here, you can see the Cloud Shell. Using this you can use a Cloud Shell or PowerShell. You can start using Cloud Shell or PowerShell from here. CLI, Azure CLI or Azure PowerShell, you can use it from here. See here, switch to PowerShell. See, now it switched to PowerShell. Now this is the PowerShell terminal. If you will switch to Bash, means CLI, you can switch it. You can restart, you can manage files, you can upload or download, or if you want a new session, you can take the new session. See here, it came the new session, and this is the editor. And this is the Visual Studio in web. So this is the Visual Studio Code. From here you can open it. Resource groups, the logical containers that keep your Azure environment organized. Resource groups are the logical containers. Like every Azure resource must belong to a resource group. Examples of Azure services include virtual machines, storage accounts, virtual networks, databases, app services, and many other Azure services. A resource group acts as a management boundary where you can group related resources together and manage them as a unit. Think of a resource group like a folder. A simple way to understand a resource group is a compare it with a folder on your computer. A folder helps you organize related files. Similarly, a resource group helps you organize related Azure resources. Here the examples are per organization. Managing these resources becomes difficult. Resource groups allow administrators to organize resources based on projects, applications, environments, teams, departments. For example, a development environment, RG-app-development. Testing environment, RG app testing. Like production environment, RG app production. This makes it easier for administrators to identify and manage resources. Second thing is lifecycle management. Resources inside a resource group can be managed together during their life cycle. For example, during application deployment, you can create all required resources together. During updates, you can manage related resources as a group. When a temporary testing environment is no longer needed, you can delete the resource group. Azure will remove the resources inside the group. This makes cleanup faster and reduces manual effort. However, always verify dependencies before deleting a resource group, especially in production environment. Third thing is access control. Azure Resource Groups works with role-based access control or RBAC. RBAC allows administrators to control who can access Azure resources and what actions they can perform. For example, a development team may receive contributor access to a development resource group. A production support team may receive limited access to production resources. Instead of assigning permissions individually to every resource, administrators can manage access at the resource group level. This improves security and simplifies administration. Fourth thing is cost tracking. Azure provides cost management plus billing tools that allow administrators to analyze spending. By organizing resources into resource groups, organizations can better understand which application is consuming resources, which department is responsible for costs, how much a project environment is spending. For example, a company can create separate resource groups for finance application, HR application, customer portal. Then they can track costs separately. Resource group rules and behaviors. Now we understand what resource groups are. Now let's discuss some important rules and behaviors. These concepts are extremely important for AZ-104 exam because Microsoft frequently tests them through scenario based questions. Instead of asking simple definitions, the exam often gives you a real world situation and asks you to choose the correct solution. So let's understand these resource group behaviors carefully. One resource group per resource. Every Azure resource must belong to exactly one resource group at a time. For example, a virtual machine must exist inside a resource group. Storage account must exist inside a resource group. For example, you have VM1 virtual machine is there. That VM1 can belongs to only one resource group. It should not be belong to multiple resource groups like that storage account, like that virtual network. A single resource cannot belong to multiple resource groups at the same time. However, resources in different resource groups can still communicate with each other, but they cannot belong to multiple resource groups. Resource group region does not define resource region. The second important concept is the resource group location does not determine where resources are deployed. When creating a resource group, Azure asks you to select a region. When creating a resource group, like many beginners think, this means all resources inside the resource group must be deployed in the same region, but that is not correct. The resource group location is only used to store the resource group metadata. The actual Azure resources can be deployed in different regions. For example, resource group RZ-application-production-East US. That location is East US. Inside this resource group, you are creating a virtual machine in East US, or you can create in West US, and you can create a storage account in Central US, or you can create database in East US. So these all things will be allowed. So you can think wherever the resource group in whichever region you have created, but that does not mean all resources should be in the same region. That can be, resources can be in different regions, that will be allowed. Next, move resources between groups. Azure allows administrators to move resources between resource groups and sometimes between subscriptions. This is useful when reorganizing environments. For example, a development team may initially create resources in the wrong resource group. Later, administrators can move those resources to the correct resource group. Here, however, an important point is not every Azure resource type supports moving. Before moving resources, administrators must verify resource dependencies, supported resource types, subscription limitations. The move operation may also temporarily affect management operations. So always you have to verify before moving the resources from one resource group into other resource group. Fourth thing is delete means delete everything. If you are deleting a resource group, that deletes all resources inside it. Imagine you have a virtual machine, network interface, public IP, storage account in a resource group. When you delete resource group, all these virtual machines, network interface, public IP, storage account, all these will be deleted. This feature is useful for managing temporary environments like test environments that can create, like when you create a resource group, inside you will create VMs. If you want to delete that test environment, you can delete that resource group so that all the resources inside that resource group will be deleted. This is why administrators use resource locks, role-based access control, approval processes, and proper governance. Tagging resources and resource groups. Tags are simple, but they are extremely powerful tools used by Azure administrators to organize, manage, and govern cloud resources. A tag is a name value metadata pair that can be applied to Azure resources and Azure resource groups. Think of tags or labels attached to your resources. For example, you can add a tag environment equal to production. This immediately tells administrators that the resources belong to the production environment. Why these tags are important? In enterprise Azure environments, organizations may have thousands of resources. Without proper tagging, it becomes difficult to answer questions like who owns this resource, which department is using it, which application does it support, how much does this project cost. Tags help solve these challenges. Common tag examples are environment equal to production, department finance, project web app relaunch, owner, cost center. These are the some examples of the tags. So here why tags matter: cost allocation, filter billing reports by tag to charge back to departments, and automation, use tags in scripts to target specific resources. And compliance, enforce tagging policies with Azure policy, and limits max 50 tags per resource or resource group. Here, like cost allocation, organizations need to understand like which department is spending money, which application is consuming resources, which project requires more budget. Using tags, administrators can filter billing reports and allocate costs accurately. And next thing is automation. Tags, like administrators can write scripts that target resources based on tags. And complaints, organizations can create policies that require specific tags. An Azure resource or resource group can have a maximum of 50 tags. Tags do not automatically inherit from resource groups to resources. If you need consistent tagging, you have to use Azure policy automation deployment templates. So here the interview question is, are Azure tags inherited automatically by resources inside a resource group? No. Tags are not automatically inherited. Use Azure policy or automation to enforce consistent tagging. Okay, now it is time for our hands-on lab. In this lab, we are going to create our first Azure resource group and apply tags using the Azure portal. This is a basic but very important Azure administrator task. Resource groups are the foundation for organizing Azure resources, and tagging helps us apply governance and management standards. By the end of this lab, you will know how to create a resource group, select the correct subscription, choose a region, add tags, review and create the resource group. Let's start. First, you have to open portal.azure.com. It will ask you for the login. I already logged in, so it is directly taking to the Azure portal. Here you have to select all services, or here in multiple ways you can open resource groups. The easiest method is using the search bar. Resource groups. Type resource groups. And then select resource groups. This will open resource groups management page. Here you can view existing resources. And here you can see the subscription and location. And if you apply any of the tags, it will show the tags here. So here we will create a new resource group. So now let's start creating a resource group. Here you have to click on plus symbol, create. So here you can create the resource groups. Here it is asking for, first thing is subscription. Subscription is the billing and management boundary in Azure. If you have multiple subscriptions, select the subscription by expanding this, and if you have multiple subscriptions, you have to select the appropriate subscription, and then you can create the resource group. So here this is the free account, so you can select that Azure subscription one, and you can give the resource group name. Here I am giving resource group name AZ-104 lab RG. And the region I am selecting East US. If you want to give the different region, you just expand it here and you can see the different regions. So based on your requirement, you can select the region. Here I am selecting East US. Here you have to remember that here this East US, it will store only the metadata, but it does not force resources inside the resource group to use the same region. You can create resources in different locations, but you can create in the same resource group, but you can create different regions. And then you click on next. Here you can give the tag name. Here I am giving environment, and value I am giving learning. So this is the tag I am applying, and the second tag I am applying owner Azure Administrator. You can select third project AZ-104 course. This is in this way I have given the tags. I have applied tags. Now click on next. Here you can review the given details. Azure will validate the configuration. Review the following information like Azure subscription, region, and resource group name, and then tags. Okay, once you have verified it and everything is correct, then you can click on create. Azure will deploy the resource group. The deployment usually completes within a few seconds because it is just a resource group. There is no resources, right? So here you can see the notifications. Here you can see that resource group created. Okay, now you can you can click on here, go to resources, or anyways you are in the resource manager. Okay, here go to resource. You can verify your resource group name. Take an example. Imagine we have a resource group called RZ-web app production. Inside this resource group, we have a virtual machine, a storage account, a database, a network interface. If we apply a resource lock directly to the resource group, the lock automatically applies to all resources inside the resource group. So instead of creating separate locks for virtual machine, storage account, database, we create one lock at the resource group level. This provides centralized protection. Resource group level locks. Applying locks at the resource group level is one of the most common enterprise practices. So if we'll apply cannot delete lock to the resource group, now all resources inside the resource group are protected from deletion. This reduces administrative effort and prevents accidental removal of critical resources. Why resource group scope is recommended? Microsoft recommends using resource group level locks for production workloads because easier management. Instead of managing multiple locks individually, administrators manage one lock. Consistent protection. Every resource inside the resource group receives the same protection. Reduced human error. Administrators are less likely to forget protecting newly created resources. Now we will apply this resource lock. We will see in the lab. We will apply a cannot delete resource lock to our resource group and test how Azure protects it. This is an important real world administration task because production environment often contain resources that must not be deleted accidentally. By the end of this lab, you will know how to create a resource lock, configure a cannot delete protection, test the lock behavior, understand the error Azure returns when deletion is blocked. Let's begin. So here we will open the resource group. Okay, I'll go from starting. Okay, here this is our resource group, right? We have created earlier. So we will open this resource group. Okay, a resource lock can be applied at different scopes. Subscription level you can apply, and you can apply at a resource group level, and you can apply at resource level. So here you have to navigate to the locks. So here for that what we have to do, we have to expand the settings, and here you can see locks, right? Okay, click on this locks. Right now there is no locks applied, so we will add the lock here. Lock name, we will mention the lock name. We'll enter as lock -rg -part 2. So here we have to mention the lock name clearly so that the next person can understand why this lock applied. So we have to mention it clearly, and then we have to choose the lock type. Here we have read only lock is there and delete lock is there. So cannot delete means we have to select a delete lock. So here users can view the resource group and they can modify the resources if they have permission, but users cannot delete the resource group or protected resources. Now we will add a note here, protect AZ-104 lab resource group from accidental deletion. Okay, I have mentioned it clearly. So now we can understand why this lock is existed. What is the purpose of this lock? Okay, now click on OK. See, now it applied resource lock. Here you can see the lock name and lock type you can see, right? So now what we will do, we will test the lock. Now we can go back to the resource groups. Okay, and I'm trying to modify this resource group name. Okay, now I am trying to delete the resource group. So here we have to enter the resource group name and click on delete. See, deleting confirmation it is giving permanent action and cannot be undone. Okay, so now we will try deleting. See, here it is giving the notification. If you will open here and you can see the delete resource group AZ-104 lab RG failed because the resource group is locked and can't be deleted. Click here to manage locks for this resource group. So here you can see the notification, right? Because we have applied the cannot delete lock, so Azure is blocking the deletion operation. So you should receive error like this. If you apply the lock and if you try to delete the resource group, you will receive a message like this. So here the important thing is to understand like why deletion is failing. It is saying clearly is locked and can't be deleted. Here it is locked. So it does not mean you don't have permission. It means there is a lock applied on the resource group. So if we'll return to the locks, so this is the lock, and if we'll remove this lock, see here you have the edit lock and delete lock option is there. If we'll edit the lock, you can apply read only, or you can modify the lock type. But here what I want to do, I'm deleting the lock. So now I am trying to delete the resource group. It is deleting, right? Because we have removed the lock and we are trying to delete it. Now it is deleting. So here you have to understand that delete lock is for preventing the deletions. You can modify but you cannot delete the resource group. If you applied lock at resource group level, it applies to all resources inside that resource group. If you applied lock at subscription level, that locks will be applied to all resource groups and resources inside that subscription. So here you have to remember, like resource group has a read-only lock applied. A developer tries to list the access keys for a storage account inside the group and gets an error. Why? Because read-only locks are more restrictive than they appear. Operations that seems like reads but internally require post or put calls will be blocked. Always test locks in non-production environment and document exceptions in your runbooks. Cleanup and deletion. So here one of the most important responsibilities of the Azure Administrator is not only creating resources but also managing their life cycle. In cloud environments, unused resources can continue generating cost, right? So a virtual machine that is no longer needed, a storage account containing temporary files, or a public IP address that is not being used. These resources may continue consuming Azure services and increase your bill. That is why proper cleanup is an essential cloud administration skill. You pay for the resources you use. When you create resources for labs or testing, so you have to delete it. After your lab is completed, you have to clean up the resources so that unnecessary cost will be reduced. So always you have to maintain a clean environment and improve resource management and avoid some subscription clutter. So here what we have done for deleting a resource group, we have removed the lock and then we have initiated lock and then we got the confirmation of deletion and then it deleted, right? So now let's review the resource group concepts for the AZ-104 exam. Here the first and most important concept is resource locks take precedence over user permissions. Remember, RBAC controls who can perform an action. Resource locks control whether that action is allowed. For example, a user has owner role on a resource group. Normally, an owner can delete resources, right? However, if a cannot delete lock is applied, the deletion operation will fail. The user must first remove the lock before deleting the resource. This applies even to users with high-level permissions also. tags are not inherited. Only the locks will be inherited, but tags are not inherited. Tags are not automatically inherited, but you can apply through security policies. And third thing is resource group region. It is only metadata. Resource group location does not determine resource location. When creating a resource group, Azure asks you to select the region. That region stores resource group metadata. It does not restrict where resources can be deployed. So the resource group can be East US, but virtual missions can be in West US or Central US, like that. Moving resources has limitations. Azure supports moving resources, but not every resource type can be moved. Resources can sometimes be moved between resource groups, between subscriptions. However, Azure has requirements and limitations. Before moving resources, administrators should check resource dependencies, supported resource types, subscription restrictions. For example, you want to move a virtual mission to another resource group. Before moving, check whether dependent resource can also be moved. Because when you are creating a virtual mission, network interface will be attached and managed disk will be there and public IP will be there. So you have to verify that dependencies before moving the resource. So here test yourself before moving on. These questions reflect the style and difficulty of real AZ-104 exam questions on today's topics. Question 1. You apply a read-only lock to a resource group. A user with contributor access tries to add a new virtual mission inside the group. What happens? You apply a read-only lock. So you have to read that question carefully. You apply a read-only lock to a resource group. A user with contributor access tries to add a new virtual mission inside a group. What happens? The operation fails because read-only locks block all create, modify, delete operations, right? Regardless of the user's RBAC roles. Question 2. A resource group is located in East US. Can its resources be deployed to West Europe? Yes. The resource group location only stores metadata. Resources can be in any Azure region. You tag a resource group with environment equal to production. Does a new VM deployed into the group automatically inherit this tag? No. Tags are not inherited by default. You must use Azure policy to enforce tag inheritance. So here is the summary of today's session. We have created a free account and then we went through Azure Portal and we have created a resource groups and applied tags and applied resource logs and cleaned up resource groups. If you are preparing for the AZ-104 certification, make sure you practice every lab yourself. Azure administration is a hands-on skill. The more you build, configure, troubleshoot and clean up resources, the more confident you become. If you found this episode helpful, like this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so you don't miss episode 3. And if you have questions, leave them in the comments. I read and respond to your questions, and the community can learn from your discussions as well. See you in part 3, where we start building and managing Azure virtual missions.